Here's all the topic areas that we've got to go through. There are 8 basic major topics. I'm not going to have a break now. I'm just going to go all the way until the very end. I'm likely to skip topic 5, which is databases and normalization, because that's what I will do on. I will do that tomorrow when you guys at Dale Lindsay did it this morning. Okay, so an introduction to accounting information systems. The first thing you need to know is accounting information systems, AIS, is made up of first accounting. And accounting starts off with debits and credits, so journal entries. Journals get posted to what, guys? Ledgers, and then what?
Then you can get reports.
Reports are kind of at the end. All right.
Trial balance.
Sorry?
Balance.
Goes to a trial balance, and then you'll have adjustments, and then you'll have adjusting trial balance, adjusted trial balance, which will then give you eventually reports. Okay. This here is a process. Okay. That's really all I wanted you to know. You know this process well and truly already. You've passed accounting principles, I hope. All right. And so this process isn't that important. It's the fact that we're doing info systems for this particular process. Okay. Information systems, these are kind of like databases, all right? But, goodness me, you idiot. Try that again. Databases, sort of, kind of like, okay? Databases, these are all of these REA diagrams and many-to-one, one-to-many, okay. But that's all about the technology. Information systems is a bit broader than that. Information systems also includes the people. People, the processes, and also the technology. The databases to get there. Is that clear? Information systems is more than just databases. Okay, so breaking this down even further, info, all right. Info is different or is not equal to data. Why is that? What's the difference, guys? Because data's not right. No. Okay.
Because not all info is data.
Not all info is data. All right. Not all data is information. What's the difference?
Info is actually useful data. It's just something that we still don't know what we're going to do with that.
Useful? All right. I like to think of it as this way. Data is just facts. Yeah? They're just bits of recordings that are true. You know, they're just measurements. Okay? But information, on the other hand, is something that's processed and useful and meaningful. Okay? You only need one simple fact for all of a sudden something to become useful. We're not after just storing random bits of data. We're after information. We're after the stuff that matters. Okay? So it's not just about debits and credits. It's about getting the stuff that is going to help us become more profitable. Systems. Systems have 4 elements. And those 4 elements are
Memory, storage.
okay, memory, process, sometimes also known as feedback, memory here, something in and something out. Now, conveniently enough, we have this exact same thing in Access. All right, the inputs are called. The outputs are called
Reports.
And you'll notice that generally the forms are supposed to be displayed on the screen. Yeah? But reports are supposed to be printed through an output device. Yep. Processes are queries. They're like our little programs. And the thing that stores the data for later use is called a table. We do accounting, we want stuff that matters, and we want a system. Here is the 4 elements of our system for a database. Here is something that's useful for the real world. It might also be on the exam. is the 6 parts of a computer-based information system. 6 parts to a computer-based device. By the way, can I have an accounting information system and have no technology, like no computers? Yeah, totally. Okay, I could just have paper books. It would still be a way of managing information. It would still do accounting, but it doesn't have to have the technology into it. Now, when we do introduce the technology, there are 6 essential elements, and it's worthwhile writing these down when you have a look at a new business, or particularly a business you don't know. The first one is the hardware. What do you think the second one is? Software. After that one, it'll be the database itself as a system. Next one will be telecommunications. Yep. And 5 will be people and the procedures. Is that pretty simple? Now, basically, with these 6 elements, if you've got one part of it which is really, really bad, then at the end of the day, your business is bad also. So you can have the best hardware, best computers, but if you've got, people like this all the time, you've got a bad business. Yep. If you've got really happy, friendly people, okay, but they've got no procedures, meaning that they've got no idea what the hell they're doing, all right, you've got a bad business. Is that pretty simple? You need to have all of these 6 elements for you to have good business. Here at Holmesglen, just quickly, good hardware?
No.
Maybe. Good. XP.
Yeah.
You're pretty slow. All right. Our databases here at Holmesglen are actually okay. All right, you can't see them, but I'm telling you that they're pretty solid, to be honest. Telecommunications, slower bandwidth, but it does work. Holmesglen staff.
Yeah.
You want to mark your exam? All right. And we do have procedures here. Okay, what's letting us down are probably these 2 here. Okay. Anything else that's in there? Client server computer. I'll tell you about that as well, and also about size. Okay, this is a bit of a computer history, but it's worthwhile knowing. Most of the time, you have something like this, a server, and then these things down here, they're called clients. Before we had this system, we used to have something called a mainframe. And then underneath that, there used to be something called terminals. Also known as thin clients, also known as dumb clients. The difference between these 2 setups is that during the 1980s, during the 1970s and 80s, when computers were very, very expensive, you'd just have like one massive computer, and then you'd have lots of, basically, this would be a screen in like 2 colours, all right, maybe 4 colours, plus a mouse and keyboard. But the CPU, you guys know what a CPU is?
Yeah.
What is it?
Central Processing Unit.
Yep. The CPU, the memory, all the thinking part was done up there. Yep. Then something magical happened with Microsoft. Bill Gates wanted a computer on every single desk. That was his dream. And he then introduced the PC, and the PC could now actually do its own thinking. Do the thinking, which meant that the server didn't have to do its own thinking, it just had to manage info. Manage data. Now, this seems like really, really old and useless information, except for the fact that with the advent of mobile phones, this system is coming back, where Google does all the thinking, and then your mobile phone is just simply displaying what Google has processed. Yeah? Siri does this because if you hit Siri, and she doesn't recognise you, if you're not connected to the internet, Siri does not work. Why is that? Because inputs and outputs happen here, processing happens here, answer comes back again. All right. So this whole mainframe versus a client system still exists. Final thing I have to tell you for part one of the intro is the size of computers. I better look at my notes, make sure I get this in order. Correct. I've moved it off. That's good. Size of computers. So computers go from very, very big to very, very small. The smallest would be something that's embedded. Yep. A PC is about middle. All right. What's smaller than a PC?
Tablet.
Yep, tablet. What's smaller than a tablet? Yeah, see, we've got all this grey area where it's like PDAs and then phones and everything that's less than a computer but really is still a computer. Okay. There's a whole explosion in this market, less than a PC. What's bigger than a PC? Stronger, faster? Server and all. I'd put mainframe slightly above, because the mainframes are doing the thinking. That's why I'd sort of make them slightly higher. And then what's the granddaddy of all computers? Biggest, fastest machine you can possibly imagine. Sorry? You're a machine. Pump iron all day long. Yeah. No. I'm still talking about computers here. Supercomputers, thank you.
Where'd you get him?
All right. Things I need you to know about these. Supercomputers, these are likely to be in the multiple choice questions, aren't they? I'm not going to get you to write much about them. They're just random facts. Supercomputers are usually purpose designed, and therefore something very, very specific, like, for example, universities will study bees' wings, or something stupid like that. All right? You can't go and play games on it. Mainframes, so I'll put that's purpose built. Mainframes will do things that what they call mission critical. What does mission critical mean? So servers and mainframes, they sort of do the same thing, where they're managing lots of other computers. But what does mission critical mean? Just have a guess.
You need more than one people on the same...
More than that?
Launch.
Close. Mission critical. It just means that if that computer goes down, you're stuffed. Yeah. Yep. And so if you really, really want to manage your data strongly, and you make sure that you want to know what you're doing, so things like airline companies need to know what's going on. Banks need to know what's going on. Government institutions cannot lose their data. And so what they'll do is they'll choose to use a mainframe because it gives them stronger control. All right? Whereas out here, who knows, PC could be infected with a virus or something like that. So managing data, but usually mission critical. Servers are usually, as we said, manage the network. All right, do you guys remember all of this stuff, or is it good to go through it again for revision?
It's good.
Yeah. Do you want me to go faster, or? Okay. All right. PCs, do I need to explain this? No. Embedded computers, they're something like whatever's in your watch. Or embedded into a printer or something like that. All right, cool. So that was Introduction to Accounting Information Systems. Next real topic, Enterprise Information Systems. Okay, this is week 2 material. Okay, so I started off, enterprise information systems, we're just talking about different types of AISs really. First thing we talked about is what is a busyness process. I'll get you to read that. It's not really that important, to be honest. Then it talks about organisation. Organisation. All right, so companies or organisations can be managed by business function, or they can be by process. All right, there are little lecture slides on this, by the way, guys. I'm writing it so that you write with me. By function, so most organisations have like a CEO at the top and heaps of little workers down the bottom. And by function, usually it's like silos, yeah? So you've got like human resources, and then you've got sales, and then you'll have like engineering or something like that, yeah? And each person talks to their boss that talks to their boss, whatever, right? Organisations that are based by process, on the other hand, they will still have sales, human resources, engineering, or something like this. However, importantly enough, the sales process will cut through it. Oops, that's very bad drawing. And what will happen is that you'll have one person who's a salesman will deal with the customer for other elements like engineering or after sales service, whatever. But the customer sees one client representative. That is all. All right. Who has been on the phone to immigration? A lot. And what happens when you call up immigration? You've got to wait. Do you talk to lots of different people? Yeah. And each person understands what the hell's going on? All right. Talking to the tax office is just as much fun because they are organised by function or by process.
Process, I guess.
Function. Yeah. I'm sorry, you'll have to talk to the other department. I'm sorry, you'll have to, you get, so the customer gets, pushed around between departments. Yep. Good things about this are control. Obviously, there's a lack of control here. Good thing about this one is client focus. Bad thing is that you get inconsistent treatment. So if you get one person that takes your sale through the entire business here, yeah, and he's a good worker, you'll get a great experience. If you get a crap worker, a crap case worker, and he sort of takes you through the entire thing, it'll be bad. Okay. Total. Sorry? Treatment. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to hurry. Okay. There is something called Enterprise Resource Planning, so it's ERP. I could use lecture slides, but then I'm just clicking through them really fast and you can't write with me, which means that you don't memorise very much, which is bad. Okay, so there is something called Enterprise Resource Planning. And the whole idea behind an ERP is that it's just one big database, one database for all company operations. So everything is in this database: accounting, finance, human resources, the sales, the marketing, the future plans, all that sort of stuff is in that one database, so that managers just need to look into this one and they can allocate resources using one single system. Does Homeschool have it? It's very difficult to put everything into one single business. Right. Other ideas I need you to have some idea about is called total quality management. And total quality management is a Toyota concept, actually. It's not in your textbook, but it is actually a Toyota concept. And Toyota is this idea of, do you want me to write total quality management? Or that's okay? TQM? All right. TQM is basically the idea that everybody will do better and better and better and better, and we're going to squeeze it until we get a perfect product. All right, so that when I drive my sexy Yaris, there are no faults in it whatsoever. Apparently. All right, apparently. The way it works at Toyota, very quickly, just reminding you of the stories, how this works, is that at Toyota, if this is a factory, so you make the car, you make the body first, and then you put the wheels on it, then you put the electricals. All right. If the guys that try to put the doors on find a problem, they push a button and they stop the entire factory, and everybody goes to the doors, and the doors don't fit. So we go back to the original problem and we fix it at the source of that problem. Yeah. That means that it's very, very slow to start off with, but it means that you can be totally sure that everything that rolls off that production line is perfect. Right? So it usually takes them a month to make their first car. This is different to Ford, because Ford say, just push it through, push it through, push it through, and fix it at the end, which means that every single car comes off with problems with its doors. All right. So this is the idea. It's faster to fix it, to do it right.
Slower.
Yeah, do it slower, but get it perfect. No, it's faster in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah, faster, I'll write over, or because you don't have to go back and fix your problems. You know, you've done it right in the first time. It's faster, it's also cheaper. Yep. To do it right properly. And so this is the little by little approach. Lots of little improvements. Make perfection. Very, very Japanese idea. Very, very Japanese idea. The very, very American approach, on the other hand, is business process reengineering. Business process reengineering. engineering. All right, and the international centre is actually going through this right now. ANZ also went through this as well after the global financial crisis. And very, very simply, what you do is you just start from a blank sheet of paper. From blank page. So what they did at ANZ is during the global financial crisis, they needed to cut staff. The Japanese way to do it would be try and find a way that we could all save 5 minutes off our day, little by little, right? ANZ said, nah, forget this. 100% of the staff were fired over 2 years. 100%. Everybody got fired and everyone had to reapply for their own job. Which means they can change your wages, all right? And so let's say there were 3 people doing their job here, all right? When you're reapplying for your job, you go, oh, you know what? You don't need to employ the other 2 guys because I can do it. And I go, you beauty, get lost. Yeah? You can see how this is a big bang approach. This rips up everything and starts again, okay? So business, process, re-engineering. You just start from a blank page and you draw the business again. Completely rip it up. And so things like the process maps are really important here. Because you forget about what you are doing and you imagine a different way of doing the same job. All right, and usually you'll find that you can fire more than half your staff. All right, you'll find that more than half your staff are lazy or are designed to be lazy because you've built it that way. Right, enterprise information systems. All right. Enterprise information systems. This is basically just saying that you could cross out E and put I, accounting information systems. Enterprise information systems are just simply saying, okay, we've got databases, but it's more than just accounting. It's like the human resources and the sales and everything else that goes with it. There is this diagram here, which goes from the very, very small to the very, very big. I would probably only ask questions. This is chapter 6, by the way. Chapter 6 of the big red book. I'd probably only ask multiple choice questions here, MCQs. I don't think there's a short answer question on this topic. For reference, if you're looking to practice multiple choice questions, there are 2 places you can find them. At the back of the book, at the end of every single chapter I want you to read, there are these beautiful things called self-test questions. Where is an example of it? Self-test questions with multiple choice answers in them. And are there solutions in the book? Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Good. Are there multiple choice questions in this book too? Yes, same thing, back of the chapter. Have a look at them. And the answers are there too. If you don't know, it means you haven't looked yet. Yeah, they're there. Ask me at the end, I'll show you. Yeah, so this chapter is really just talking about the size. The size of the different databases, from things that just go single entry to double entry, the RCR, which is just accounting, then to accounting plus stock management. Then there'll be customer relations, so a customer relations management database, and then other stuff. Okay. I'm not going to spend much time because I'm not going to test it very much. Yep. Cool. Moving on. Topic 3, systems development. This is really what I got you to do for. This is your assignment, which is why we did this chapter before you start your assignment. There is something called a life cycle, and the life cycle goes, step one, you investigate. Next, there is some analysis. Then there'll be some system of design. After that, you might wish to actually implement. And then after that, you need to maintain. If you're not entirely clear about this, let me make this very, very clear to you. All right. Step one, you need to go and meet the client and investigate what the hell's... This is for your assignment. You investigate the place, all right, which basically just means that you read about it. I've tried to make the assignment look like the real world, all right, and you also go and visit them. You'll do some sort of analysis where this is part one of the assignment, part one, where you draw up some maps, some business maps, data flow diagrams and process maps and all that sort of junk, all right, about what the hell's going on here exactly, step by step. After that, you'll need to design your database. All right, this is part two, where you're designing and building the actual database itself. The next step after that would be install it. Install, and you need to train users, train staff. If there's something I know about this organisation, we don't do enough training. I've got databases, I've got no idea how to use them. And then finally, you've got to make sure that it keeps working, otherwise if it breaks down, no one fixes it, it's a waste of money. I cannot get you to, all of you, drive to the farm and install your work. I can't get you all to teach Mario how to do it in the real world. And I certainly can't wait for 3 years for the database to break down and wait for you to fix it. However, I could get you to go to the farm, look at the business, and build it. Yeah? So your experience does match this. Okay. There are things that you need to consider here. So, for example, when you're investigating, you may need to consider things about. You may need to consider the factors like speed of the system, cost, any new changes in the business. When you're also talking to the client, you may wish to consider about the feasibility. So the client says, I want a database and I want it to be on my iPhone and I want it to do this and I want it to do that. You know, I want a lot of pretty graphs. You need to think about feasibility of financially, can they afford it? You may need to consider about the legal. Are we breaching privacy issues? Is it technically possible? Yep. Is it strategically part of their business plan? Things like that. Yep. The analysis requires things like functional outputs. What do you really want this to do? What do you want from the people? What do people want? People's wishes or desires. What are the processes that it has to support? Those sorts of things. Design, you need to worry about how is it logically going to work. You also need to design physically. So, physically, do I need to have a database that's on a computer, or can I do I need to have it on a mobile device? That matters a lot, because if you use Access, you cannot put it on a mobile phone. You're linked to a PC. You may also need to worry about approval. Which I'm not really going to worry about. Implementation worries about installing, training, testing your database. so that you know that it works. Maintenance is just ongoing. Oh, actually, before I go anywhere else, there's one more thing about implementation. When you implement a new system, there are 3 ways you can do it. One is direct. Another one is parallel. I know there's 2 L's because it's parallel. P-A-R-A-L-L-E-L. That's it, yeah, because there's 2 L's because they're parallel. And then phased in. Okay, and this is how it basically works. Direct is you have one system and then tomorrow you start up the new system. No 2 running at the same time. Parallel is you have one system, looks kind of like this. You turn on another system, you run it side by side for a long time until you turn the next one off. Phased is sort of like this. Okay, why does this matter? This is all about cost and risk. For example, I believe, I could be wrong, I believe that Canada drives on the left side or the right-hand side of the road.
Right.
Right, just like the US. US is on the left?
No.
Oh, on the road, yeah.
Of the road,
Oh,
of the
yeah.
road.
Right.
Yeah, you're driving on the right, but the
The
wheels on the... Yep. On the right-hand side of the road, though, yeah?
Okay.
All right, cool. All right. Canada used to follow England in being on the left-hand side, but when they decided to switch, which system do you think they used?
Phased.
Parallel. No, phased in.
And
Can't
the
replace
crashing.
your car.
Sorry?
You can't replace your cars in one hit.
Yeah, but when you're driving, like in Australia, we're on drive on the left-hand side of the road, yeah? And if you're going to swap the sides of the road, would you do it both at the same time? Or you'd go Malvern first, and then Chadstone next, Oakley next, yeah? Yeah, you'd have to use direct, wouldn't you? All right, if you're going to swap the sides of the road, you'd have to do it everything at the same time. It'd be dangerous. Sorry? Does anybody else see a problem with this, or is it...
No, I don't.
Sorry?
I don't.
Yeah. So you really do need to, if you're going to swap sides of the road,
Do it.
you'd have to do it direct. Otherwise, you're driving in Vietnam or Indonesia. Right, which is definitely... Right. Mikey, when they swap from... when we swapped from Metcard to Mikey, which system was it?
Parallel.
Parallel. Which one's the most expensive?
Parallel?
Parallel, because you're running double the systems at double the cost.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one's the cheapest, but it's the most riskiest. Business. Thank you very much. You were an awesome, awesome cameraman.
Thank you.
All right. Business documentation. All right. Business docs. There are process maps. Process maps. There are these things called data flow diagrams. There are these things called system flow charts. System. Let's write FC for flow charts because I'm lazy. Underneath data flow diagrams, there are 3. There is a context. There is also logical and physical. Pretty cool. You guys know this. Let's have a look at the rules. First off, let's have a look at process map. I think you'll know process maps quite well. Process maps have only 2 symbols. It's this symbol and this symbol. What's this one?
Process.
Process. It's something you do. This one here?
Decision.
Decision. And I'm going to tell you something that's different to this textbook. Right, so I'm directly contradicting this textbook. A decision must have two outputs. You've got to have a yes and a no. You know, the only time where you'll have a single output is where you have a price or some floating number. So if I have to decide on a price, I give it $200. All right, it's still a decision, but I can't write every single available discrete answer because it's a continuous variable. Does that make sense? All right. But 99.999% of the time, a decision will have two bloody outputs. Must. Okay. The other thing you need to know about process maps is that they have arrows. All the arrows are labelled, so these are messages. This is different to a systems flowchart because this thing also has arrows, but there are no labels. No labels on systems flowcharts. Right, process map go like this. Okay. You guys know this very, very well. Okay. There is a dotted line. What's the dotted line mean? Yeah, same department. Usually a boss and a worker. Why do we do this? Why do we have this dotted line between the boss and his worker? Or her worker? Because? Everyone's mumbling, sorry. So, someone just say that out aloud, because you were right. All of you were right. I didn't hear it. Why do we do this? Because?
Same department, but different processes for both of them.
That's true, but why do we do that? Why is this dotted line?
Because we need to specify who's doing it.
Differentiated.
Thank you. Yeah. Whoever answered that, segregation of duties is the most important thing because here, if I have this person checks that person's work, I can be sure that they're doing so independently. But if I have a case of where a worker is checking the boss's work, is it a real check?
Yeah.
The worker checks your boss. You check your own boss.
Yeah, it's a real check.
Does it work?
It doesn't.
No. Why doesn't it work?
Because you were.
Because you shut your mouth and do as you're told. Yep. So that's why we do this. Is because the division of responsibilities here is a bit porous. All right. The boss always has override over that person. So that's why we put them together and we show that there's a porous line between the two. All right. It's about control. The whole point of the process map is who does what. Yep. It's about responsibility. Whose responsibility for doing what? We spent a long time doing that. Sorry?
Next.
Context data flow diagram, or the data flow diagrams in general, these are a bit different because they don't show who does what necessarily. This is all about who knows what info. This is really about the info. This is about who's doing. Okay, there's same story, different important elements. All right, told differently. Context data flow diagram. Context data flow diagram has only one bubble in the center. One only. And it will show the external entities. In the assignment, some people put the farm manager outside. Farm manager. So they thought that Mario was not part of the picking and packing. That's kind of not true because Mario actually does process information. For starters, he starts the whole thing because he tells you what to do. And second of all, he's signing reports at the end of the day. All right, and that signing is processing something. You know, it's approval. So external entities. External do no process. They only receive or send, but they're not actually doing anything. All right, so that's the context data flow diagram. I'm going to write physical here. Physical data flow diagram will have the same. 1, 2, 3. The difference between the key part of the physical data flow diagram is that these entities here, the internal entities, these are who. So they're either jobs or they're names even. And the bits of data that's flying between these arrows here, these are physical documents. The external entities, EXT. If you've got two external entities here, you better have two external entities here. They better match. Right, physical. The last one is the logical data flow diagram. Logical data flow diagram. Again, if you've got two external entities, you better have the same two. 1 and 2. Can you see how I've got 3 bubbles here? Do I have to have 3 bubbles for the logical as well?
No.
No. All right. It's a completely different idea. All right. The bubbles in this particular case, these aren't who, they are
Process.
process. All right. Do what? All right, so they're verbs. They're a process. All right. 1, 2, still have been numbered. The arrows here, they're different to these ones. These ones here were physical documents. So, for example, a check. But here, the arrows are different. What are they?
Balance received.
Data, better than data is? It's the message. All right, it's
Instruction.
yeah, it's like what's the message of that particular document? All right, so the document is called a check. The message is the payment details. Okay, so the arrows are messages. Not just a message, but what is the message? All right. So, for example, here you have a check. On this particular version, I would call it payment details. Payment. And so what I'm trying to say here is, well, I accept payment. Physically, I could do it via check. Physically, I could do it via EFT. Physically, I could do it via cash. Who cares, right? But on the logical, it's all just payment information.
And
Okay.
the bubble will be wages.
Sorry?
And the bubble will be like
Pay wages or something like that, yeah. Gonna run? Cool. Sorry, I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to keep going. So if you want to go to the toilet, just get up and go. I don't mind. Okay, so here we have Philip's the worker. Here's Philip. Here's my boss. Helen Wilson. All right. All right. And Philip gives Helen a piece of work. Helen's happy, which is awesome. Helen's happy with my work, and so she signs it and gives me my work back again. Yep. Physically, one and two, one and two. All right. Here would be, let's say this is a check, a prepared check, for example, and this one here would be an authorised check. Different document, it's totally cool for something to go from me to Helen back to me, all right? However, under the logical, what's happened is that Philip's prepared, she's authorised, and then I've got to go send it off to somebody, okay? So that's 3 separate processes. Prep, check, authorise, check, and then send, check, something like that. And so you've got 1, 2, and 3. So this is blank lodged. Check, check. This is authorised check. What's important about this story that I'm trying to get across to you is this. In the physical, it's totally cool for an arrow to go from 1 to 2 and then back to 1 again. All right, that makes sense. In the logical, however, if I went from prep to authorise back to prep, I would be stuck in a logical loop forever. Prep and then authorise and then prep and then authorise and then prep and then I can't get out. I'm stuck. All right. Therefore, in the logical, these arrows never go backwards. Many of your assignments have logical loops inside, particularly the process map, and you lost points because of that. I was overall quite happy, but that was something I did notice. All right, so arrows can't go backwards here. Here, that's cool. That makes sense. Yeah, don't take a video of Helen and then put it on the internet, will you? Okay. Okay, so we've done a process map, we've done data flow diagrams, let's have a look at the systems flow charts. This is something we didn't do very much in class, and maybe we should do more of it. Okay. Tim, can you stop stealing my stuff, please? Flowcharts. Okay. If Philip was feeling very evil, should Philip feel evil? No. Should Philip be nice?
Yes.
When Philip writes the exam? Should I give you a photocopy of this page with all the symbols on it?
Yes,
Flowchart.
please.
Would that be helpful?
Very.
Alright, maybe let's do that.
In the exam.
In the exam, I will simply photocopy this book, which is the blue book. It's a different page in the red book. You can find it in the red book. It's just, oh, yeah, blue book? Page 116. Page 116. The red book's got, the difference between the blue book and the red book is that the red book put it on 2 pages, so it's heaps easier for me to photocopy this. That's all. So I will give you this page in the exam. All right. The first thing to know about the systems flowchart is that it has more symbols. Okay, and those symbols, you don't need to memorise them because you'll get them in the exam, but you need to know what they mean. For example, what's this one?
Start.
Yeah, it's technically called a terminator. And the terminator will be back.
A la vista, baby.
The terminator is a start or a stop. It can also mean an external entity. Okay. So that's cool. This one here. What's this?
Process.
It's not just a process, it's actually a computer process. So it has to be something a computer does. Now, in the real world, you'll see a lot of these things, and people use them as processes, not just computer processes, because they're lazy, but it's technically wrong. Right? If you've got a person doing a process, it's one of these, which is like one part of Homesland.
Huh?
Yeah, this is called a manual process. So, for example, packing strawberries is not done by the computer. It's definitely a human thing. Oh, I'm sorry, I've stuffed up. That was bad. A manual process is like that. Okay. This is typing or manual input. Sorry, my mistake. Why does this matter? Because when we design our systems, we want to try and make sure people are doing as little typing as possible, because where they type, they make mistakes. That is why when you're designing your database, please, please, please use as many drop-down boxes or combo boxes as you can, because it means that the least typing I have to do, the more likely the input will be good. Right, wherever you see this, this is risky. All right, the rules. The rules for a systems flowchart. All right. Avoid crossing. So your flowchart always goes down the page. All right. And seriously, students, when they design this, they do this. They go, and at this point, I'm like, really angry. Okay. Given that you know that you're going to have to draw in the assignment, given you know you will have to do some drawing in the exam, would you bring a pencil in and an eraser? That might be a good idea. All right, so avoid crossing lines. It's messy and it gets confusing very quickly. Two, if a document, so this is a document, you guys cool with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. If a document starts somewhere in the system, show me where it goes. If the document starts, show me where it ends. Okay. This can be a manual process of destruction. So once you finish with it, you throw it away. Or alternatively, you can do this. What's this? Yeah, it's not a decision. A decision is
Storage.
It's a storage. What sort of store?
File.
It's a file. Yeah, it's a paper file, or a store if you like. This one here is a temporary. This one here is permanent. Permanent file. You guys remember this? I hope so. All right. There is also 3 letters. There's one called C, N, and A. So this one could be a temporary C, and this one could be a permanent A. What does that mean? Permanent paper Permanent paper store, stored by alphabetically, A, B, C, D. Temporary, stored by chronologically. So this one's time. I'll write that one up for you. So newest first, oldest earliest. Newest first, oldest last. N would be numerically, yeah, numbers. A, B, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 1, avoid crossing lines. 2, show me where your document ends. That's important, usually into something like this. 3, number documents. Number documents. So if I've got 2 copies, I've got numbers 1 and 2, so I can tell what the hell they are. Could be purchase order or something like that. 4. Documents moving from column to column. Doc moving from column to column must be shown on both. All right, I'll explain what that means. I know I've been through it with my class. I know Alan Lindsay's been through it as well because he would have looked at the slides with you. But I can see on your face most of you don't know this, which is a worry. So here's my systems flowchart. If I have a document, so here is Philip, here is Helen Wilson, my boss. Yep, as the boss, I need to do this. Yep. And Philip prepares a check, which is not yet authorised. Check goes to Helen, and she authorises it. This is incorrect. Right, authorise yes or no. Why is it incorrect? Because the document must be shown on both sides, meaning that
to show where it ends.
check plus signature. That's correct. All right. It's very, 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 very explicit. All right, because when it crosses the column, I have to show the same bloody thing on both sides of the column. Is that clear? And the reason why we do this is because staff usually don't look at what their colleagues are doing. They only ever look at their own column, so that you want to make sure that the column for Helen Wilson is complete, so that if Helen got this only, she would know exactly what to do. Is that clear? All right. All right, that was point number 4. Point number 5 for flowcharts is that the filing is not a manual process. So that's incorrect. It's just simply, here's a document, and it goes into a file, like that. That's correct. Yep, this is wrong. Filing is not a process. process needs an input and an output. Process must have input and output. So, for example, that's manual keying. So, pack strawberries is a manual process. What goes into it, guys?
Strawberries.
Stock. Yeah. Stock is drawn like this. Yep. And boxes of stock, well, packed strawberries come out also like this, but they're a different. Yep. Carriers. Yep. So every single process has something in and something out. Very simple. Only document normal processing. So in other words, you don't show in your process. You don't show in any of these where you could stuff up, right? If there is a checking process, 6, 7. All right. Normal operations only. All right. So don't show where things can go wrong. If you have a checking system, so for example, reconcile, and if reconcile, okay, do something else, right? If no, because there's something that's gone wrong, put a terminator in. Error or something like that. Okay. But you don't show me a whole process of something that could go wrong there. Just show me, yeah, I know it could go wrong. That's enough. The last one is explain any ambiguities if necessary, but I won't write that down. So guys, that's the business maps. Now, let me make this very, very clear, because there is definitely going to be a question on the exam about this, for sure, right? On Moodle, you know how we downloaded a Word document, and in that Word document you had to read this thing here, and then you had to make that stupid long thing here, okay? This document is wonderful. Claire wrote it, and I love it, love it, love it, love it. It's better than the textbook in this respect. I would read this for that particular question. Yeah.
Is that topic 4?
That is topic 3. I've got it listed here as 4 because we do this in 1 week. Yeah. It's technically topic 3, and it's very good. It really is very good. But I would read the whole thing, you know, not just skim read it.
There's no solutions for those questions in that.
You know why?
Big size.
It's stolen.
So the solutions in
There.
there? Okay.
Database concepts. So this is all about REA, normalization and all that junk. I've only got half an hour, and I'm going to do REA tomorrow. Is that okay if I skip this? Okay. Because that's a whole 2 hours worth. So I'm going to move on. Internal control, guys.
Are you going to record it, right?
Yes, I will record. I don't promise to, because sometimes I forget about stuff. I'll do my best. Yeah, you messaging me is kind of creepy. So. Not anybody else, just you messaging me is creepy. All right. Yeah, I could, but
I can message you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
all right. This thing here is essentially Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 of this very, very, very good textbook. I really like this textbook. It's old, all right? Sometimes it explains things in a bit funny way, but it does it with purpose. It's a bloody good book. Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 is normalization, all right? And I would definitely have a look at chapter 1 in particular. If you don't know what REA is, you're in trouble. Page 6.
Slightly no, not all.
Sorry, page 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. All right, so this one here, page, when I say 23 to page 27,
Information overload.
normalisation of databases, because normalisation is, I actually think we should fail students that don't get this question right. I think it's so important. I need you to know it. And I'm not saying, oh, you know, if you miss my class, it's the end of the world, or whatever. I'm just saying, read the book and you're fine. If you know how to draw REA diagrams, if you can pull out the fields, you're sweet. I'm so tempted to make it a hurdle though, to passing the entire class though, but can't for this semester. Oh, I always get this question too before I start the next thing. Philip, will there be any questions about combo boxes on the exam?
No.
Will I have the chance to show where I click here and it's a theory exam, okay guys? All right, it's just the theory elements. I will not ask you about access at all on this exam. That's what the assignment's for. Right, internal control. Internal control for the Red Book is chapters 7 and 8. Internal control, this is chapter 7 and chapter 8. I would look at chapter 8 in particular. There'll be quite a bit on the assignment. Well, you need this for the assignment anyway. All right. Sorry. In the Blue Book, it is chapter 9.
Just chapter 9? Chapter 9?
Yeah, they've split it into two for the red one.
And the white book?
Sorry?
And the white book? I've got both.
Yeah, I know there's a new one.
And I've got that one.
Just look for the chapter called Internal Control, you'll find it. Okay. I will only ask you about internal control issues about buying and selling. Buy and sell. All right. There are entire chapters devoted to buying, selling, human resources, financing, all this sort of crap, and I won't test it. Just buying and selling. Very, very simple. Okay. I actually would like you to open the two chapters on buying and selling, and I'll tell you the pages that I want you to read in particular. There is a page that tells you what can go wrong, what can go wrong, and it's in a table. So, for example, you could sell stuff. Something that could go wrong is you sell it to a bad customer and they never pay you. All right. Something that could be going wrong is that you're authorising too much, or you have no authorisation mechanism, something like that. Buying stuff, you could overpay for it. All right. So there's a nice little table that tells you everything that can go wrong. There's also another table in the buying and selling chapters of all the documents. Documentary proof. All right, so for example, when you're selling, you get this thing, or you write this thing called an invoice. What's an invoice do?
It specifies the items, the price, and the date, and the custom clients.
And it's a contract, isn't it? It's the contract. It's the piece of paper that forces you to this is the thing that creates legal rights. Yeah? And it is at this point also that says how much to pay. How much to pay. This is different from something that actually shows you what you paid. What's that document called? You pay money, you get a different document. It's called receipt. All right, everyone knows this. All right, not everybody has seen a bill of landing. What's a bill of landing?
No, it's a bill of lading.
Sorry?
It's L-A-D-I-N-G.
Oh, sorry. L-A-D.
Bill of lading.
Lading. Oh, goodness me. I've always said landing, which is wrong.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Sorry, I'm happy to be corrected on that one. Tell me what a bill of lading does. Some of you, like, you will have seen these all. Most of the class will not have seen anything else other than a receipt and an invoice. Okay, and therefore, if you don't know what these documents are, go and look them up in the buying chapter or the selling chapter. But in any case, they've got to do with internal control. All right. All right. All right, internal control. All right, internal control, it talks a little bit about corporate governance, which is probably not hugely important. Corporate governance. Corporate governance is about how we run our companies, how we run the company. This matters because corporate governance includes things like IT management or IT governance, IT, and also includes internal controls. Internal controls. And nowadays, they're all built into the computer system anyway. This is all about trying to manage risks, and hit objectives, hit corporate objectives. I used to tell people that internal control was always anything that's there to stop people from stealing. Actually, it's a lot more than that. All right? So, for example, is there anywhere in Very Nice where money can be stolen? Yeah, all right. One of the internal controls about not stealing money is the accountant's office is locked, isn't it? Is that an internal control? Yeah, okay. Another internal control could be hit the corporate objective. So that's managing risks. Hitting corporate objectives are to be the high quality strawberries, so at every single step they've built in quality controls. It's part of internal control. All right. 5. Is this really boring, guys? It is boring. Yep.
Nice.
Do you want to go read it at home?
No.
All right, cool. We'll keep going. There are five elements of internal control. Elements of internal control. Number 1 is the control environment. Control environment. 2 is the risk assessment. Pen's running out. 3 is control activities. 4 is information communications So I'm just going to write communications. Does very nice. So the first one is mainly about how it's about the industry. Last semester, I took all the students to the Melbourne markets, and there is like mega bucks in cash. You know, yeah, it's like all these Greek and Italian men out there, and they're going like, "I'm only going to take cash, mate, here," and they have obscene amounts of money in cash trading fruit. Okay, big internal control risk, absolutely, because these guys could have $50,000 in their pocket, and you'd never know. All right. Can you do anything about it? No, because actually you can't trade in that market without cash. It's just an expectation in that particular world. So the environment is not only just about management attitudes, it's about what's the industry like? What are people's expectations? You know, what are the staff like? All right. In Very Nice, they've got English-speaking management, and all of the pickers and packers, they speak a little bit of English, but there is a communication issue. All right. So that's part of the environment. Risk assessment is what can go wrong. And so you need to go, what can go wrong? How serious is it? How frequent is it? All right. And I showed you this little risk matrix where it goes 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. And so the more frequent, and the more serious, the higher the priority it is. Yep. But if it's, you know, how serious we could lose, could delay a customer by 5 minutes. You know, how frequently will it happen? Once a year. It's pretty low. Does that make sense? If it's very serious, like life or death, you fix it, even if it costs you money. Right. So that's what can go wrong, and how serious is it. Next one is, what are you going to do to fix it? Put locks on the doors, split up activities amongst your staff. You've got to tell people about it. So the most important, you know, the most important thing I've seen Mario do to his staff on a daily basis is yell at them about quality. All right? It doesn't matter about any of this checking. None of those checks work until he communicates it to his staff. Fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it. All right? Because they know it's an issue. He communicates it non-stop. Yep. So you've got to tell your staff, finally, you've got to check them. All right. Does Very Nice Strawberries have good monitoring?
I think yes. Very big mistakes.
For quality, yes. What about for the daily reports? Yeah, okay. So they've got problems too. Right. So that's those 5 elements. There are things called product controls.
Before we just go on,
Sorry? Yep.
before we go on, you mentioned 2 tables of what can go wrong in documented proof, and you mentioned they're in the book. What tables are you looking at?
Do you mind if I use the red book rather than blue book? Because I know that more students have got the red one, blue one. Let me give you an example.
Is that from the slide?
Speaker.
Is that on page 212? Correct?
Mic, sorry.
Can I ask you about something? How many people failed this subject last year?
One less one.
Oh,
More than I wanted.
like, how many percent did you want?
I can't recall. Look, I don't fail. I never fail students. Students fail to do enough preparation for the exam. It's as simple as that. So I never fail anybody.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
But at that same point too, this is a subject where if you turn up every week, you do a little bit of reading when we tell you, how we tell you, it's not that hard. All right? It's not rocket science. Corporations law, my God, do the reading or Kai will burn you.
Oh, yeah.
All right? When it comes to accounting theory, do the reading, otherwise it just won't even make sense at all. It's just crazy. Okay? This subject, it's very easy to understand. The failure rate is because students get lazy. They think 5 hours a week, I don't need to turn up to class and I don't need to do all this crappy reading. All right, if you've been turning up to class, Alan or myself will say, you know what, in terms of a good example of a table to read, I would have a look at page 394.
It's in the red book. What's it called? So that we find in the red book.
Yeah, it's called, this is the revenue cycle. And this is documents, list of documents. So it's got customer order, order acknowledgement, that sort of thing.
The whole table.
Sorry,
The table.
I don't hear you.
The table.
The table, yeah, it's just the table really. And then if you keep turning on along, you can see that look at the chapter for buying and the chapter for selling.
The whole chapter.
No. I'm telling you these particular pages. All right. Page 4 to 12 also in this same chapter.
Yeah, 'cause it's not in the blue book.
Yeah, it is. Page what chapter is that? 412.
I'll let that one.
That's the red book. Give me a second, I'll find the blue book. In the blue book, the same thing is revenue cycle. It will be called page 168. Here's a list of the documents, you know. You're right, it is a bill of lading. I've always said landing my whole life. I feel...
I'll get into point in the exam.
You do, yeah. I feel really dumb. Always said landing. And then it starts on page 185. Is a list of everything that can go wrong.
The page 164, is it for the blue book? For,
This is blue.
for the different edition.
This is red. Yeah, sorry, I would have written it a bit clearer, but I got the question halfway through and was thinking as I was going. So, in the revenue cycle, which is selling, there's a list of documents, all right, and there is also a list of things that can go wrong. In the blue book, it's just one big table. In the red book, there's actually split up into a couple of tables, but here's one. For example, here's something that can go wrong. Registering a sales order for a non-existent customer. Is that a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Description. What do you do to fix it? That sort of stuff. Okay. For someone like Christiana that's got quite a little bit of work experience under your belt, I imagine, and you've seen a few of these things, all right, this is all old stuff. For you guys that have never had a job, all right, and you don't know what can go wrong because you've never worked in business, for the love of God, read this, all right, because you might never have thought about selling to non-existent customers and what sort of fraud you can commit. All right, moving on. sorry. I want to answer your question, but I want to do it quickly. All right, controls. Controls, they can prevent, preventative, they can detect, and they can correct. All right, one of the controls is that Mario uses a barcode scanner instead of typing. What is that? Preventative. What's it preventing?
Mistyping.
Human stupidity. Absolutely. Yep. I can see a smoke detector right here. A smoke detector prevents against what?
Fire.
Yeah. And that prevents, detects, or corrects? Detects. Okay. Locks. Prevent. Yep. Okay. Good enough. There are also general controls and application controls. General controls and also application controls. So I had this horrible application control, and inside the PowerPoint slides, I had a picture of a box with these little gears inside. Oh God, that's terrible. What I'm trying to say here is that the general controls, they stop you getting in the first place. All right, so this is a fence. General controls stop you. They're like locks, passwords, that sort of thing. Stops you from getting into the system. Application controls, that's the stuff inside of it, and it stops you from make sure that the system's working okay internally. Things like drop-down boxes. Alright, anything else about controls? General controls, procedural controls. Oh, threats. That's the last one. And I'll move on. Difference between a threat and a risk. Threat. Some companies don't do this quite the way they should. A risk is something that can go wrong. I will write that for you. Something that can go wrong. So somebody could come in and steal my money. Therefore, the control I use is a lock to stop that risk. Yep. Now the threat is my laziness. I am lazy, and so I don't bother trying to lock things up. Right. So a threat stops the control from working. Yep. Risks are things that can go wrong. Controls try to control that. Threats are things that will stop the control from doing the job that it should. Okay. Good enough. Woohoo! One more topic and we are done, guys. Happy? Let's do it quickly. Something you'll know about Philip is that other teachers, they'll just go, yep, thanks very much for 13 weeks. You got any questions? Exams next week. Philip will give you a very, very detailed final lecture. You do still need to do some reading, obviously, but I'm trying to make sense of what you will read from those following weeks. Right. Audits. 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 Audit is an opinion. Must be independent for it to be valuable. Alright. So you're just merely checking someone else's work and you're giving an opinion, is that work true and fair? All right, is it actually saying what it should? Now, while we're talking about independence, there are also these things called internal auditors and external auditors. Internal versus external auditors. External auditors you must have. Internal auditors you can have. All right, these guys will be independent. All right, and these guys will not be independent. All right, which begs the question, why the hell would you have an internal auditor? You've got to have these guys. Why would you employ another bloody accountant? To give graduates jobs. Yep. Why would we have internal auditors if they're not independent and we don't have to have them? Because they're cheaper. They're still cheaper. Yeah. You spend more money because every dollar you spend here, you save $100 here. Yep. So these guys work inside the company and they're constantly auditing, constantly cleaning up the business to make sure that it's all completely ethical, does what it's supposed to do, so that when the external guys come in, they don't find any mistakes because there are none. Yeah. And so even though you don't have to have these guys, they're cheaper in the long run. Is that simple? Yeah, very, very simple. All right, there's stuff in here about the auditing standards. I don't care about that. I will not test auditing standards. Why is audit in a database subject? It's simple because it used to be, in the old days, all right, databases, in the old days, you could audit the stuff that went in, you could audit the stuff that went out, and who knows what the hell happened in here. That wasn't important. But because these days everything happens inside the business, everything inside the business happens inside the database, it's very hard to audit around. So that means that today must audit through the computer. It's very hard to audit around the computer. So that's why some auditors get paid really, really big money. Why is it? Because they've got to be a database specialist and an accountant and to know about checking your work. Yep. Is that the sort of work you would like to get into, guys? That gets paid highly? Got to know about technology though. Okay? All right. There are 3 stages to this an audit. So, stage 1, 2, and 3. Stage 1 is plan. Another one is, it is test, not implement. And the other one is analyse and report. Analysis and reporting. Planning, you've got to know the business, know the client, you've got to know their internal controls, you've got to know the management, all that fun stuff. Importantly also, there is this concept of an internal control questionnaire. This is a good exam question, ICQ. An internal control questionnaire is that rather than wasting lots of time saying, what's that, what are you doing, how do you do it, all these questions, it's much quicker if I just get a form and I email it to this guy and say, can you fill this out? And then next week I come back and go, have you got the form? Oh, so you've got an employee database, please show me. Yep. That's the internal control questionnaire. It's a questionnaire that you email to the client sends it back to you with answers. It saves you weeks, saves you a heap of time. So this one here, question, yeah, I need you to know what it is. That's pretty good. Sorry? ICQ. Have a look in the textbook. There's a couple of examples of an ICQ. It's just a Word document. Yeah, and if you, I had a mate who was a specialist in automobile industry, and so his was all about, you know, how big is the fleet of cars, where's your VIN register, everything to do with cars. All right, and he always sent them the same questionnaires because he knew the sort of questions he'd have to ask. Yeah. Right. 2, testing. Testing, this is more about internal control again, all right? So it'll talk about general controls and application controls, which we've just done, so I'm going to skip that. Something else I wanted to show you was... I'll do it here. Live testing versus dead testing, or offline tests. This involves taking a backup of your client's database and testing the client's database offline. This one involves going into the real world, giving them an invoice, watching the person process the invoice, and then watching it go through the system until it comes out the other end. Good thing here is that this involves people, and therefore you know it's very, very real. All right. This one here is, but it's also expensive. Negative is very, very expensive, hugely expensive. This one here is that it's cheap, but no people. The good thing is also you can test a lot. So in other words, if there's nothing wrong with the database, the problem's with the database user because they are stealing money. You will never find it using dead tests, but you will find it using live testing. All right? Most businesses prefer you to do this because it doesn't stuff up their records. I've skipped something. There's something called an audit program, also known as a master audit program. Master audit program. I don't think I'll test a map. I can't remember putting an exam question on there about map, but basically a map is just it's just a computer software that tells you, now ask this question, now go to the client, check for bank reconciliation, blah, 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 blah. Very good because you always get consistency. Very bad because you stop thinking and you just do as you're told according to the computer, which means you miss stuff occasionally.
Pre-designed software.
Sorry?
It's like pre-designed software.
Yeah, it's software for auditors. It tells auditors what to do. Sometimes criminals are cleverer than software, however, so you can beat it. All right. There's also the thing I want you to know about test decks. So if you want to make sure that you're checking, so let's say you're checking that you've got all your employees, so you go down to the employee HR file and you photocopy their files, you've got to keep that test data, all right, and you put it on your working papers. So as an auditor, you have evidence that you've done the check. Yeah, it's the stuff you stick in the working papers. So in other words, if I did a bank reconciliation, I'm going to keep that stuff, and that's called the test deck, like a deck of cards. Analysis and reporting, basically there's not very much to that because you just have to go back to the shareholders and tell them what you did. Now, basically your boss will do this, and so there's not a lot of information in the textbook because this textbook's designed at graduates who will do a lot of this stuff. All right. So I'm unlikely to ask an exam question here. I'll probably ask it here. maybe here. Okay. Now, something is before I go on to one week. And that is separation of duties.
Internal control.
Yeah, this is really an internal control issue, but somehow I didn't talk about it, so I better. Look, separation of duties is really, really important. All right. Separation of duties has what they call incompatible duties. Incompatible. And this is where you should not have one person doing more than one thing. Yeah? So, you should not have one person that records, executes, reconciles, holds, what do they call holding? Custody. And authorization. Authorize. Yep. Thinking about very nice strawberries. Does anybody do more than one of these things? Yeah, so there are a couple of places in that story where basically you've drawn a process map and the process map is bad. Yep. The process map contains incompatible duties for one person. You have to think about it and find out where it is. Right, final topic. Yay, ethics and fraud. Okay, so I want you to understand that there is this difference between ethics and morals. Ethics versus morals. Morals is about what you personally believe. Some personal. I morally think it's wrong if people lie, cheat, and steal. You know, you shouldn't cheat on your girlfriend. It's morally wrong. You know, that's up to you. Most people would probably agree with me. Ethics, on the other hand, is more about what everybody else expects of you. Community.
On the good way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, not only do I think it's morally bad if I lie, cheat, and steal, but the community expects that as an accountant I don't lie, cheat, and steal and take bribes and that sort of, you know, crappy behaviour. Okay. So there is a difference. Okay. The best example I can think of is example of Sharia finance. If I have a Muslim person, they might feel that it's bad to charge interest because you don't have to charge interest to give a loan. However, that might be their morals. If they work at the National Australia Bank, the community expectation is that even if I'm dealing with someone that's Muslim, I want them to give me a loan, because that's what the bank does here in Australia. Yep. So basically, ethics trump your personal morals. Do what the profession wants. Right, now, if you have to make a moral decision, there are these steps, And so in the textbook, there is this example of sell it now, sell it now. And this is in the lecture slides. Do you want me to write this out for you guys, or do you just want to look it up? Look it up, or? I'm just going to write it out. I'm sorry, because I've got some yes and some no. All right. The steps are: 1, what are the facts? 2, you've got to look at the issue. 3, can you do that quietly, please? I don't care if you eat, just... or can I have some Coke? And then you can do it loudly. 3, what's the principle? 4, compare 3 and... Oh, no, sorry. 4 is who gets affected. 5 is compare 3 versus 4. 6 you then decide. And then 7 you act and monitor. This sounds really, really, really stupid, except for the fact that, do you guys know Google Glass? Google's made like a mobile phone that's...
Yeah.
How would you feel if Philip started walking around with a camera attached to his head? You'd think Philip's an idiot, but would you feel invaded by privacy issues if I had a camera constantly watching you as students all the time? Would you feel uncomfortable with that?
Yeah.
Because I want to go buy one. I really want to go buy one. Yeah? Okay, so if you've got something like this, you actually do need to document these in boardroom decisions, so that when someone asks you, why did you do it, you can point to this as evidence why. That's the ethics side. Fraud. How do we stop fraud? All right, fraud. Fraud. All right. For one, you can employ the right people. Employ good staff. I know that sounds like a stupid thing to say, but the truth of the matter is that most employers don't fire bad staff. They keep them, which is stupid. You can communicate values. Communicate your values to staff. So you go, listen guys, I think it's really important that we do this, but then you've actually got to show them that it's important as well, rather than say do it and then yell at them for doing what you just told them to do. You can also get staff to join professional memberships, memberships. For example, Philip is a member of CPA Australia. I actually don't need my CPA membership to do my job because primarily I'm a teacher, not an accountant. But by having this, if I breach the rules on privacy, I breach my membership of CPA, I can be kicked out. All right? And so even as a teacher, by me joining a professional membership organisation, my standards of behaviour are lifted because I have to follow their standards. 4, you can not de-individualise. Not de-individualise. I'm very, very bad at learning your names, but I try to treat you as people. I'm sorry, I struggle with Sri Lankan names, I do, but I do try and learn your names as best I can, and I still fail. In an organisation where I don't care who the hell you are, what's your number, what work have you done, you're not important, and therefore you become de-individualised. All right, you don't matter. That sort of environment makes it very, very easy to steal because it looks like no one cares. All right. What else? You can have good whistleblowing practices. Whistleblowing policies. Whistleblowing policies is that if you find something wrong, you can call out, you can go to the authorities and tell them that something's gone wrong. In the real world, even though there's lots of whistleblowing policies, if you do this, usually you lose your job. That's very serious. Okay. Then it talks about hacking and computer crime. No, still fraud. Still fraud. So this is about computer crime and computer fraud. All right. Hacking is where you use, you try and break into someone else's database. Is that pretty cool? Yep, you know how that works. Can you ever do good hacking? Yeah. What's good hacking? Yeah, you know, stop the terrorism. Or, yeah.
Ethical hacking.
What's ethical hacking?
For hacking into the business employees to hack into their systems to check for firewall.
To check the strength. Yeah. So you're trying to make sure that people can't get in. All right. So they call it penetration testing, which is a bit of a rude term.
So it's whistleblowing.
It's late, and I'm talking through. But there is such a thing. There are also viruses. Can you have ethical viruses?
No.
Not really. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's something called phishing, which is closely linked to identity theft. What's identity theft, by the way, guys?
It's a baby.
Yeah, who would want to steal my identity? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I own some of a house. The bank owns most of it, all right? But I have a house, and I do own a car, you know. I've got stuff to steal, you know. And if it's not actually stealing that stuff, someone else could go and take a loan against my car, you know, and then take the money and run away. And then the bank knocks on the door and says, Philip, pay back this loan. I'm like, well, what the hell? I never took that, right? Because somebody used my identity to get cash, right? That's identity fraud. How do they get my details in the first place? They involve usually some sort of phishing. What the hell's phishing, guys? Yeah, how do you get information? So you go into the computer.
All your details, personal details, your bank details.
How?
Where do you put your details?
I'm not going to tell you. I own a car. I don't want you to steal it. All right? What people do is they spam you. All right, so they'll send you crappy, unwanted email. All right, and the email will say, "Dear National Australia."
It's a fake.
It's completely fake. I actually bank with the Commonwealth Bank, and the National Australia Bank is sending me emails.
Deal with banks with Commonwealth.
Yeah.
DF Commonwealth Bank.
Yeah, I've got a house in Clayton, you know, credit card number is. All right, yeah, so somebody will send you some spam and they'll get you to log on. What's the first thing you do is you give them your username and password. All right. So they've fished out your details and then they use that to steal your identity, which then steals the money. And then with the money, you go and buy something else.
phishing also with the credit card, with ATM cards? Sounds
That's
like-
skimming.
That's skimming.
Yes, skimming is where you go to the ATM and you put your credit card in and it goes through, like the criminals have put an extra, like here's the machine,
Device.
and then put an extra device on top so that when you put your card through, it
It keeps the
and
password.
they've stolen it as it goes through.